Okay, let's dive in. You've brought us a really quite powerful piece today. It's called The Unseen Storm, Omar's story.
hmm It's framed as an educational narrative, using Islamic teachings, really.
Right, looking at how to understand and, well, support students who might be facing these, hidden challenges. Things like anxiety, behavioral difficulties.
Yeah. And what's so striking, I think, is how this story just cuts right to the core of what could be happening, sort of beneath the surface for some young people.
Yeah.
And it shows so clearly the impact that um, simple compassion and understanding can have. It's almost like a shortcut to seeing things differently.
Exactly. And our mission here is always to take source material like this and really unpack the most important insights for you. So let's get into Omar's story. Let's see what crucial nuggets it holds.
Okay.
So the story introduces Omar, and right away there's this kind of striking contrast.
Yeah.
On the surface, the source tells us he seemed, well, like a happy kid at school, joking around with friends, making people laugh. That's what everyone saw.
But here's where it gets really interesting, because the source immediately, like, pulls back the curtain.
Right.
It reveals that inside, Omar was dealing with what it calls a hidden storm.
A hidden storm.
Yeah, a storm of severe anxiety that just wasn't visible, not to most people anyway.
And the way it describes this internal state is pretty vivid, actually.
It is.
It talks about the physical side, the mental symptoms, shaking hands, his stomach clenching up, heart racing.
That feeling.
His mind just crowded with thoughts, totally overactive, always anticipating things. And he felt, well, completely unable to express any of it.
And that disconnect that's so crucial here. The story really emphasizes how he could, keep up this cheerful front at school.
Right, maintain the persona.
But then he would just sort of collapse or fall apart, as the source puts it, the second he got home.
Wow. Imagine how confusing that must have been for his parents.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
You're only seeing the school Omar, who seems fine.
So that internal struggle, completely hidden from view, that really is the heart of this unseen storm.
It is.
And the source actually pinpoints some triggers for his anxiety, too. Things that maybe sound familiar, like academic pressure.
Yeah, specifically mentioning the stress around exams and that fear of reading aloud in class.
Well, that's a common one.
Definitely. And social anxiety was a big factor for him, too. Feeling isolated, during group work. And even things that might seem small, like just loud noises in the classroom, could feel really overwhelming for him, a source of real distress.
One detail the source brings up, which feels really important for understanding anxious kids,
What's that?
is how sensitive they are to tone of voice. It notes that if a teacher, say, commented on him or raised their voice, especially in front of others,
Oh, no.
Omar would just completely withdraw, shut down. It really shows how vulnerable they can feel.
Yeah, absolutely. And this brings us to the real turning point in the story. Amidst all this hidden struggle, this sensitivity, there was Mr. Kareem, a teacher who actually noticed Omar.
He saw something others didn't.
Exactly. He didn't just see the laughter or, the withdrawal. He saw the quietness, the silence underneath, the fatigue.
And in his first step, his initial approach, that's key, isn't it?
Totally key.
Yeah.
He didn't confront him or accuse him of anything.
No.
The source says he just spoke to Omar gently after class. Simply asked if he wanted to talk because he seemed tired.
Just an observation, an open door, not a demand.
Precisely. And the power of that moment. Just being seen, being offered an ear without any judgment, without pressure. The source really emphasizes that. Mr. Kareem offered understanding, containment, and he used those incredibly comforting words. Let me quote this directly.
Please do.
He said, "It's okay to feel tired sometimes. Sometimes we carry worries no one sees, but God sees. And I'm here to help you, God willing."
Wow. Just that validation, knowing you're not alone in it. That must have felt like a lifeline.
Absolutely. And what's fascinating is how Mr. Kareem's approach, it didn't just stop there with that one conversation.
Right.
The source details the practical things he did afterwards, all flowing from that place of understanding.
Okay. Like what?
Well, his methods were deeply rooted in compassion, or rahmah, as the source calls it.
Rahmah, mercy, compassion.
He gave Omar stability, a stable routine, clear steps for tasks.
Yeah.
But crucially, he built in flexibility, safety.
How so?
He gave Omar calm options to, exit a situation if he felt distressed. instead of forcing him through it,
Yeah.
or worse, punishing him for needing space.
That makes so much sense. It directly counters that feeling of being trapped that anxiety often brings. Giving options is empowering.
Exactly. And the source also notes Mr. Kareem actively avoided power struggles, which, let's be honest, can often be the default reaction to challenging behavior.
It often is, yeah. So instead of escalating.
Right. And when mistakes did happen, Omar's or even his own, his response wasn't shame. It wasn't punishment. The source gives this great example of him de-escalating, saying something like, "I'm sorry if I misunderstood you, Omar. Shall we try again?"
Taking responsibility, opening the door again.
Yes. He wasn't escalating the conflict. He was actively opening what the source calls doors to peace, inviting repair, understanding, not conflict.
And this whole approach, it wasn't just working for Omar, was it? It had a wider effect.
It really did. A ripple effect.
Yeah.
Other teachers saw Mr. Kareem was having success.
They noticed.
They noticed, and they started adopting similar ways of guiding students, shifting their own focus more towards kindness, towards compassion, and how they interacted.
That's fantastic.
And they didn't stop there either. The source mentions they actually sought out more understanding. They went to training specifically on things like avoidance behaviors and anxiety.
So they were actively learning.
Actively learning to see what was beyond the behavior, recognizing the mind and spirit behind the actions, not just the surface problem.
That shift in perspective from just managing behavior to really understanding the struggle underneath, that's where the source brilliantly weaves in these foundational principles, isn't it?
Absolutely. It connects this compassionate, understanding approach directly to core Islamic teachings. It shows these methods aren't just, modern psychology ideas, but they're deeply rooted. It brings in the saying of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, that the strong person is not the one who throws others to the ground.
Right. But the one who controls himself when he is angry.
Exactly. And the source implies that self-control isn't just about not shouting. It's about having the inner strength, the fortitude to respond with compassion, with understanding, even when a behavior is really challenging or frustrating you.
And that principle of mercy, rahmah, is underlined again with another saying, whoever does not show mercy will not be shown mercy.
It reinforces that mercy isn't just like a nice extra. It's fundamental to how we should interact, especially with those who are struggling.
And you see the connection, too, with Mr. Kareem's gentle communication.
Yes. The source links it to the Qur'anic verse, Al-Baqarah 83, the command to speak to people good words.
Speak good words. Think about that in terms of de-escalation, inviting repair.
Choosing words that build up, not tear down. Words that open doors.
And offering hope, too, not just for Omar, but maybe for anyone facing difficulty. The source mentions the verse from Surah Al-Shar.
Ah, yes. Verse 6. Indeed, with hardship will come ease.
It provides such a powerful perspective, doesn't it? That difficulties, no matter how overwhelming they feel right now, they aren't permanent. Ease will come.
It's a fundamental message of hope. And finally, the source ties it all back to the practical side, the environment, with that saying of the prophet, peace be upon him.
Right.
Make things easy, not difficult.
And give good news, not repel people.
Exactly. Which directly informs the kind of environment Mr. Kareem created. One of ease, of welcome, removing barriers, offering encouragement.
So by applying these principles, consciously or maybe just instinctively, they fundamentally changed the whole environment for Omar. The classroom, which used to be this place of intense anxiety where he felt he had to hide, it actually became a haven, a place of tranquility, somewhere he didn't need the mask anymore. He didn't have to hide his suffering.
And the transformation in Omar that the source describes, it's really moving. Slowly, step by step, he began to change.
The fake smile disappeared.
The insincere smile gave way to genuine happiness, He started participating more, even began memorizing from the Quran.
Wow.
And there's this one specific anecdote the source includes that really, really sticks with you.
What is it?
Omar saw a new student, someone who seemed scared, and he told them, "Don't be afraid. Sit next to me."
Oh, that's incredible. He was paying it forward.
He was able to extend the exact same compassion and safety that he himself had received, passing it on.
It wasn't an overnight fix, though. The source makes that clear.
No, not at all. It acknowledges his journey wasn't easy, but it stresses that it was blessed. Blessed because one teacher chose to truly see him and chose compassion.
One person made that difference by acting on these principles.
Exactly.
So, wrapping this up, what does this deep dive into Omar's story really mean for you, the listener?
Well, first, I think it's just such a powerful reminder that the most significant struggles people face are often the ones we can't see.
Yeah. Behavior is so often just a symptom, isn't it? Not the whole story.
Definitely not. And second, it highlights that looking beyond that behavior, looking to the mind and spirit, as the source puts it, well, it isn't just a nice thought.
It requires action.
It requires specific, intentional actions. Actions rooted in these principles. We talked about mercy, rahmah, making things easy, taysir, speaking good words,
Things like listening without judgment.
offering safe options, avoiding those power struggles, choosing understanding over punishment. These aren't abstract virtues. They're practical tools.
Tools that can disarm anxiety and build trust.
And finally, this story really shows how one person's commitment to compassion, guided by these deeply held principles, can actually create ripples.
Yeah.
It can shift the whole culture around them towards more understanding, more support.
It shifts the focus.
It really does.
Yeah.
From just controlling behavior to actually nurturing the human being who's experiencing the difficulty.
So here's the thought we want to leave you with, something maybe to mull over from this story.
Okay?
If you were to intentionally try to look beyond the surface behavior of someone you interact with regularly, maybe it's a student, a colleague, a family member, anyone, what hidden storm might you discover they could be facing?
And how might actively trying to see their mind and spirit and then responding with that intentional compassion based on principles like ease and good words.
Yeah.
How might that change how you approach them? How might it change the interaction?